Startacus are in Belfast and we're delighted to be talking to the team at Tughans. Tughans is one of the largest leading commercial law firms in Northern Ireland and they've been operating here in the city for 121 years. Through a series of Startacus chats, we'll be talking about many of the legal fundamentals a startup will need to know as they grow and scale their business. We are joined by Ciara Lagan from Tughans and we're going to be talking about joint ventures. Ciara, let's just start by explaining what is a joint venture.
Well, that was very basic. A joint venture is a business arrangement between at least two people looking to achieve a particular objective. So it's effectively a collaborative relationship with a common purpose. Okay,
so it could be two friends that come together with an idea and that becomes the joint venture. Would that be fair?
Very much so, yeah.
Okay, good stuff. So why would someone enter into a joint venture?
Well, it can vary. There are a number of reasons. So say a business wants to expand, develop a new product, or even enter into a new market. If it teams up with a partner, it can share on resources, expertise and location, spreading costs and risks for that particular development. It's really a case of the sum is greater than the parts.
Yeah.
And the benefits can be quite clear. If the parties really have a lot of synergies, working towards that mutual objective, but what's key here is to make sure that they agree what that objective is and how they're actually going to deliver it. And in terms of how they're actually going to deliver it, that's where the process can get quite challenging. It's essential for people to take the time and effort to agree and document that relationship to maximise the success of the business.
Okay, perfect. And in terms, just stepping back quickly, I mentioned obviously two friends coming together. This is the same for a joint venture with two businesses coming together then. Would that be the same?
Very much so. It could be persons, individuals, business, established companies. We've seen it at the very friend level. I've seen it dealt with it where it's international companies coming together to do the same thing.
Yeah, no, perfect. Okay, so let's talk about joint ventures and finding the right partner. So how do you go about doing that?
Well, that's key. You have to make sure you have the right person to go ahead with the joint venture business. So what we tend to say is, are your business interests aligned? Does that other party actually bring what you need to the table? But before you even get to that point, you need to do a bit of due diligence on your partner, and try and look at their previous relationships. Get even references if it's relevant. If they have past accounts, have a look at them, make sure they're solvent and they have the money to put where their mouth is. And then try to, if possible, stress test the party's objective. But even before you enter into a relationship, this joint venture concept, you have to look at protecting your confidential information. The person that you're dealing with, it might be a friend, but your confidential information may be key to your business. So I'd recommend you look at a confidentiality agreement and have that before you hand over any information. It's difficult to enforce a confidentiality agreement. I can't say otherwise, but it can at least act as a deterrent.
Yeah.
And what happens then is to maybe look at the information that you do actually disclose, because that's another way that you can help protect your confidential information.
So that's something that the tech startup scene takes quite lightly, to be fair. I'm thinking about obviously linking up with other founders. There's a lot of programs that try and help you to find other founders. I don't think perhaps maybe there's not enough legal support offered at the early stage. Would that be fair, or am I mistaken on that?
I think a lot of people, especially when it's a friend relationship, everybody thinks, oh sure, it's all grand, it's all fine. But it is a good idea to take a step back and see how the relationship will work and how it can benefit both parties and how both parties can protect themselves, because it is a sharing information with each having their own objectives. There's different ways to structure the joint venture, and just stepping into that, the actual idea under law is joint venture isn't actually a defined term at all. I don't know if you knew that. It's just this commercial relationship between two or more people, but it can fit into different types of structure. So what structure is best for you will depend on what the needs of the parties are and what your objective is. There's a wider range of things to look at, but what are the factors that you need to think about in terms of setting up the right structure? It's going to have to look at technical, operational, how you're going to work together, and the legal aspects that's obviously around help in, tax and financial, and it's talking to your advisors, looking at all those aspects and picking the right structure to best suit the joint venture.
Perfect. Okay. So you talked about structures. of a joint venture, but can you explain that in a little bit more detail?
Sure.
What does that mean?
Yeah, no problem. In terms of structure, there's various ones that you can look at, but probably the two most common are a contractual relationship. So it's just two companies coming together and agreeing within the contract what the terms of the objective is. Or alternatively, actually setting up a separate limited liability company, this JV co, as some people refer to it. And there's pros and cons for both.
So in terms of, you've got to that point where you've got a joint venture, how do you set up? How does that process start?
Okay, well, whatever structure you adopt, you need to look at documenting it clearly and agreeing the key terms, and that's when you go and talk to your advisors, look at all the aspects that we mentioned before and seeing what you need to agree as the key terms. So what is your objective? How it's going to be funded? How's the joint venture going to be funded? What are each of the parties bringing to the table? You know, is it money? Is it assets, intellectual property, employees? And how are they going to extract value from the joint venture? Are they going to be paid dividends if it's a JV company, or are they going to charge for maybe leasing their assets to the JV business? Who's going to manage it? Who's going to be responsible for the management? How are the big decisions going to be made? How that's going to be divvied up? And then, if worse comes to worse, how do you resolve disputes? Then, of course, then you've looked at how people will extract the value. Who's going to be responsible for the liabilities, which, you know, they may happen. So in terms of that, is it going to be 50-50, or would it be one party takes more responsibility than the other? Another aspect to look at is it a fixed period that you're looking for this joint venture, or is it going to run on indefinitely? What's probably key also at the very end of all of this, you want to look at exit, how you're going to extract yourselves from the JV, how you're going to get your assets back out, take your value out of the JV in the most tax efficient manner. So there's a lot to think about.
A lot to think about, but one would assume, hopefully you'll agree on this, but the earlier you sort these type of things out, the less issues you're probably going to have down the line.
Very much so. It's one of those things, if you put the time into and invest the time and effort into documenting it all, everybody knows where they're starting from, and that's all hopefully you never have to look at again, and you just go forward and make it the success that you want it to be. And it's talking to your advisors, invest a little bit of time and money and bringing it forward.
Perfect. So the message is joint ventures work, but as long as you set up the process correctly and you understand what that means really.
Absolutely.
Okay. Perfect, Ciara.
Excellent.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.